All right. Can everyone hear me? Awesome. I think
Yes.
you all can hear me. Amazing. I'm surprised the videos are off. Welcome everyone to the fourth hackout. This is going to be a slightly different hackout because it's not going to be extremely hands-on. It's more like some skills which all of you, should know to ace in the career in tech, especially in tech. So, welcome to Professional Mindset. You can call it whatever you like. I hope you can see my screen. Yes, you should be able to see my screen. Awesome. Uh, so, what is professional mindset? It's a lot of things. All right. These are some set of best practices you need not follow in particular, but these are extremely essential for you to stand out in tech, because the competition is pretty vast. The tech is big, so is the competition. So in order to make a big game, be it in terms of money, in terms of jobs, or in terms of achievements, anything, I'm going to discuss some tips and tricks, some mistakes which people make. This is going to be pretty special because I'm going to share a lot of my own secrets. I'm going to show you how I reach out to people and a lot of things that I personally do. So it's this hackout is not sourced from any resource online. I just made the slide like 40 minutes ago. So it's all about myself, how I do it, and how you can do it too. So it's completely authentic. It's going to be pretty awesome. All right. So in the next couple of minutes, I'm going to tell you what you should do right now as a student. All right. Networking basics, which I think all of you need to definitely know. How do you manage time given you have mids and exams and then some other club work and then so many things, just and then some function happens at the home, and how do you just manage all of that? It's pretty easy, but you just need to know a couple of tricks and self-paced learning, which we are going to come at the end. So the first thing is, when you joined the college, there are pretty high chances that your seniors or your friends or some YouTube video must have told you, follow this roadmap. A roadmap for a developer, or roadmap to get into Fang. How many of you agree? Just post it in the chat or just unmute and say if you agree or disagree, or if you have never heard of that. Has it ever happened that you came across so-called roadmaps which tell you to do this in your first year, do that in your second year, third year internships, fourth year job, and things like that, right? Well, they're not wrong. All right, that is, I'm not saying they're wrong. They're not, but keep that in mind that that is their roadmap. Whatever that YouTube video or a senior or your friend tells, that's the roadmap they followed, which helped them ace it, which is amazing, but you're not them. So that roadmap may or may not work for you. So keep that in mind, that all the roadmaps or all the suggestions anyone gives you are opinions. All right, they're part of experience. Just take it with a pinch of salt. Don't You don't have to strictly follow it. It may or may not work out for you. All right. So if someone says, you're in first year, enjoy. Well, if you're not in mood to enjoy, fine. Or you want to do an internship in first year, but you have to, like, oh, some seniors told me that I should do it in third year. You don't have to wait for that. Or if you feel like, you know what, I'm in third year, I don't want to do internship, maybe next year, right now I want to build up some skills, totally fine. Okay, work what works out for you. So what I would suggest, again, these are the suggestions I would give you to do as long as you're a student. In what order you want to follow, that's totally up to you, because you know your timetable, you know your schedules and commitments. So some of the I'm going to discuss two pretty important things. The first one are student programs. So student programs are amazing. These are programs initiated by a lot of tech companies, non-tech companies too, whose aim is to train students to bridge that gap between academics and industry. So basically, what you learn in your college may or may not be directly related to what you're going to work on. All right. Your syllabus does not include Git and GitHub, but what if you end up working on that? Or your syllabus does not include how to cold email or how to express yourself in an interview or things like that. But these things are required in industry after you graduate. So if they are not covered in syllabus, someone else has to do it. Now, thankfully, a lot of programs are like that, paid and unpaid. Keep that in mind. And I strongly suggest you to go for the free ones. There are great free student programs. Now, these programs come with a lot of benefits, which varies from program to program. There are programs which makes you a better leader, which will provide you a proper training, formal training to become a better leader in your own community, like GitHub Campus Expert. Then there are programs which are pretty good at support. So they don't in particular train you for anything, but they have a pretty good support for events. For example, Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador. That program is pretty self-paced, so you can learn on your own. There's no formal training per se, but it has amazing tech support. It is one of India's biggest community, tech community, student-run community. So it has wide support for that. Hack Club is a great example where we get good tech support and swag support. Apart from that, one of the best things of applying for student programs is the networks that you make, because these networks who are either working in these programs as program managers or the director, or the students that you meet will become the future leaders in the society, or you can find great people in these programs. So definitely keep an eye out for student run programs. Just to name few, GitHub Campus Expert is there if you want to become a good leader, if you want to become the change in your campus or around your areas. Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador if you are pretty interested in Microsoft technologies and also want to host a lot of workshops. There's Postman Student Expert, Postman Student Leader, Google Developer Student Clubs, Hack Club's own program is there. There's so many programs are there. All it takes is a little bit of Googling and you will find all of them. In fact, maybe after that, I have a pretty good blog prepared by someone. So apply for student run programs, but again, there's no roadmap for that. So you don't have to keep a mindset that when I'm in second year or in third year, then I'll apply. Or maybe you feel like you are not prepared right now. Well, you will never be prepared, to be honest. The best thing you can do is just apply and see what happens. If you get accepted, that means you are already prepared. And if you get rejected, you know what to work on. A lot of these programs provide you with feedback too, like these are the things you could have worked on. GitHub Campus Expert does that, MLH Fellowship does that. And if they don't, you can also ask for that. So at least just by applying to these programs, you are basically pushing yourself, getting out of that comfort zone, and so kind of not wasting a lot of time just to prepare. It's more like a tutorial hell. So you just keep preparing. It's like, when I do X number of workshops and when I do X number of, I organize this big event, then I'm going to apply, then I'm a good student leader. So it doesn't have to be like that. I would say apply right away. It does not matter. Get rejected. What's the worst gonna happen? You're not losing anything. You're not paying any money for these programs. So definitely apply for these programs. They'll also help you in your personal branding. That is the things that you can show off in your resume or in your work profile, or the people out there that, okay, I am a leader in this. Okay, I am an MLSA and things like that. So when you're applying, this is very important. All of these programs will have some sort of application process. All right. Applications mostly focus on the essay. So now about essays, there is a certain word limit depending on the type of program you're doing. Always respect the word limit. All right, I'm repeating again. Always respect the word limit. If the essay says, can you answer this in around 100 or 200 or 400 words, try to achieve that. The reason being, if you write an essay of 1 or 2 lines and someone else does it for a couple of 100 lines, I can definitely put my natural attention to someone else, because that person would seem more interested in this application and is more appealing to check it out. Let me see if I can show you an example. Yes, again, should be registrations. Yes, okay. So I got some responses here. Let me show you Hackerabad's application, which we used. All right. I hope you can see this. All right. So let me go to this section, and if I just go ahead and show you the rules here. Oops. Okay, let me just show the question. All right. So in this section, we mentioned that can we go down? Let's see. Oops. And okay. Let me see if I can see the whole. Open this. Just temporary opening this. Don't get any ideas. Okay. Next section. That's something. Okay. Oh no, everything is important. Never mind. So what I'm trying to show you is the rules that this application had. Let me see if I can. Oops. Something happened. Okay. Yeah. So here we asked, please be as descriptive as possible. Previous applicants had answered in 250 to 300 words. That means if you try to put in that limit, it has a higher chance of you of your application getting accepted. Let me show you some examples here. So this is the first part, and this is a question. Naturally, I am not going to even try to analyze this response, because there are, I mean, obviously this response dominates over this one. And similarly, if I just scroll down, these two are not as good as this one. So whenever there is a word limit, try to be as elaborate as possible. You're in no hurry. Usually a lot of applications give you enough time. But remember that if you're writing short, someone else will write a bit more descriptive. If you want some tips, you can add anecdotes, like your own history of leadership. Let's say this was inspire. So I can write something which inspired me in the past. That's a very good example of showing that I'm fit for this role. It doesn't have to be tech. If they don't explicitly ask, then it doesn't have to be tech. Similarly for others, but respect the word limit. What happens if you get what happens if you want to apply to multiple applications? You'll be quite tired, right, writing the same thing over and over again. So let me show you one of my great secrets. I maintain this application board on Notion. You can use whatever you want, but you can see here what applications that I have not started, I'm going to write here. Let's say I'm what can I do? What can I do? So let's say GDSC or something else. All right. Let's say Postman student expert is the application I have not started, and there is some other program Mozilla that I want to apply. Maybe it's in progress. All right. And if it's completed, I put it here. That's just how I work. If it's accepted, it will be here. If it's rejected, it's right here. All right. The thing is, inside these are the pages. So if I open one of them, you can see I have recorded every response of mine in each one of them. So what am I doing here is, if I get rejected, I am going to analyze what went wrong in this essay. And if I get accepted, can I reuse the same answers in other essays? Because a lot of these programs, the first question is like, introduce yourself. And instead of writing the same thing over and over again, I'm just going to use it as a template, make a changes here and there, and then reuse it. So that's one thing you can do to keep track. Yeah, it's a Kanban tool. Yeah, it's a board view or a table view, anything that you like. It's just your preference. Use sticky notes, it doesn't matter. But have something to record your essays, because essays definitely take time and you don't want to start from scratch over and over again. Cool. Next up is jobs. All right. Obviously, we all are here for jobs. That's the first thing that connects us for joining the college and anything else. I would say if you're going for an internship or anything like that, go for remote. I mean, it's a personal preference, but be as you like. Since most of you are in junior year of your college, it's going to be pretty difficult for you to travel to the actual job office every day while maintaining your academics. So remote jobs is not only high paying, I mean, that depends on the type of job you're applying, definitely, but it is asynchronous at the same time. Means you can do it at the comfort of your time. You can do it anywhere that you like, but you need to know a couple of things, a couple of discipline of time management, which I'll talk later for sure. All right. But when you're applying for remote jobs, you don't have to again wait for the third year or a fourth year when you know things. You can apply right now. The worst that will happen is you're going to get rejected. But now you have the idea, you also have the answers ready. So even if you're in your first year or second year or third year and you're interested in, let's say, doing internship this summer, you're free. You don't have any other important work. You can spare some time. Go ahead. There are awesome websites like arc.dev. There is Glassdoor. There is Devocate. If you want to go for developer advocacy, these will help you apply for remote jobs. They will also tell you how much sort of salary a particular tech stack can give you. It's not quite, it cannot be like extremely accurate, but it gives you a good overview which technology you want to focus. Let's say JavaScript. Let's see how much a JavaScript is the average salary in the US. It can be Asia. You can see things like that. All right. So these are all free tools to use. Maybe you want to work at a company that you like. So all you can do is you can just go, I think, to the career page. So it's like company followed by the career name. So you will just find the careers page. Let me see if I can do app right. If I do career, yeah. So most of the companies, remote companies, have a career page. Google has it, Amazon has it. That's the most authentic place to apply. They directly tell you which place you can apply. I mean, I would try to avoid places like, something Shala. Those have a pretty, well, they lack a kind of scrutiny for good jobs. So there are a lot of scammy jobs which has overpaid value. It would say like 20-30K per month, but it's not the reality. So go for remote job if you like, go for offline job, that is fine, but you don't have to again wait till you get skilled. You can learn by doing, so you can learn on the go. All right, keep applying, not a problem. How do you get the job? A couple of things. The first one I told you is directly the career page. Some of the best things that have worked is cold emailing. If you have been like in the code day team, we are seeing that we are doing a lot of cold emails. Cold email is basically just sending an email template to the job board or to a specific person looking for a job. It takes a lot. It takes a bit of effort, but it has been pretty effective in the past. The people I know, cold emailing absolutely works. Depending on the type of people, I won't go in deep into cold email, but it's something you can definitely try. Twitter, well, I'm biased, all right. Okay, I'll definitely say go for Twitter. I mean, stay active in Twitter, try to use Twitter. If you're into tech, Twitter is like most of the healthy technical community is in Twitter. I found my one of the best internship that I'll be doing via Twitter. I found my first podcast via Twitter, my first global conference via Twitter. Just stay active, get involved with people in Twitter. It takes, I've seen so many people get an internship with a single tweet. They just tweet, I'm looking for internships, they get it. More than one. The third one is simply asking your networks. If you have a healthy network system, which I'll talk how to make one, uh, just ask them, hey, is there a job availability at your place? Or I'm looking for this role. Do you know someone who is looking for it? Now, when I say network, it doesn't specifically mean the friend circle. The friend circle which you makes in college, that is also a network. But you all are at the same level. You are not all, you all are bachelors right now. So when I say networks, people who are actually working or have worked in a certain place. So try to get involved with them. It makes life so much easy when you have the right network circle. It takes time to make networks, but how do you make it? Well, that's the important part. That is the most amazing part in tech. So to make networks, it's not like, it's quite simple as making a friend, but with certain restrictions. When you make a new friend, you just say hi, or maybe you are sitting at the same bench, or maybe in the same bus or something like that, and it takes time. Well, when you're networking in the professional world, it is pretty straightforward and it is much easier to do, given that you keep a couple of rules in mind. First of all, I mean, don't assume, all right? This is so important. Do not assume anything about the other person. If you're trying to reach someone out, someone who you're interested to become, for example, you want to reach out to someone you are really inspired from, or someone you need to look for internships, or someone you want to invite to event, anything, someone who you don't know, and you're trying to approach them on a professional platform professionally, don't assume anything about them. What do I mean by that? Don't assume their identity, don't assume their gender. A lot of DMs that I get start with the word hi bro. Well, I'm not your bro. Seriously, like, okay, I understand bro is more like a feeling than a word, but when you're reaching out to me and I don't know you, not everyone might be comfortable by calling, bro. So that's one of the simplest mistakes people do that really sets the tone of the conversation next. Mr. Sir, you don't have to, unless like you know them, it's a teacher. But when you're reaching out to someone, just don't assume that you know them. Okay. The second one, once you ask them, once you approach them, once you have initiated a conversation, have a bit of patience. All right. I know if I'm texting, let's say, who do we have in the chat? We have Vaishnavi, all right. We have Vaishnavi, and I'm texting Vaishnavi. I know Vaishnavi, all right. Uh, if Vaishnavi does not reply, I'll reply to them again. Hey, what's up? Or did you reply to this or something like that? I'll just call her. But if I don't know Vaishnavi, or don't assume that they have read your message and they're ignoring it. Just have a little bit of patience. They might be in another time zone, they might have some other work, or they might have not seen it. So have a little bit of patience, because when you're reaching someone online, it's asynchronous. It takes a bit of time. It sometimes days, sometimes a week or so. If more than that, then maybe gently you can remind them if it's extremely urgent, or you can just move on. All right. But many times you will not get a reply. The chances are there. I mean, if you're reaching out to someone who's extremely busy, chances are they may or may not reply, or depending on where you ask them. If they are active, maybe they're not active on that platform. So what happens? Let's say you're asking for internships and you did not get a reply from one person. Well, don't just wait for that person to reply. Reach out to multiple people. All right. Like, this is very, what should I say, basic. Like, it's very important that, okay, if it's a thing that you can ask for multiple people, go ahead and ask them. Someone will reply a bit early, someone reply a bit late, but you will definitely, your chances to get an answer will increase. Reach out to multiple people, but make sure you're following the first two steps. Once you have reached out to that, this is very important. Respect their time. Remember that all of that I'm talking about from the start has been done for free. The student programs is for free. Whatever people you're reaching out to, they will do it for free. They will answer your questions for free. They will provide you help for free, for sure. So make sure you're respecting their time, because they're spending their time to come all the way to help you out or whatever. They're spending their time. All right. So make sure you respect their time. Let me give you one personal example. So I used to have my calendar open. Let me show you what my calendar looks like. If I go to xc/quick meet. So I had this in my portfolio. I had this open for everyone. So if some student is kind of wanted to ask me doubts or talk anything about tech or just geek out with me, they could just go ahead and pick the date that I'm available, pick the time, write their name and email, and then schedule a meeting. And it will show up on their calendar and my calendar via Google Meet. It's a 15-minute quick talk. So 40% of the time of people who scheduled a meet with me, I just realized that there is a typo here. Anyway, so 40% of the time, people who reached out to me were not on time. Now remember that I am spending 15 minutes, which I could have done somewhere else, to this meet because someone requested for help. Now, if you're not on time, that really obviously kills my time, wastes my time, also kind of makes a bad impression for sure. So whether it is a meet or an interview call or even a HackOut, if you're on time, you are respecting everyone else who also came on time. So if you're early to, let's say, HackOut, we don't have to wait for everyone else, and we can start early and we can finish early. So it's pretty similar like that. Let me go ahead and show you some real life examples of some pretty weird things that have happened. This is one thing. So this person booked a meet with me, and you can see that they forgot or they were just busy. This is not the first time that has happened, but it really disappoints you. And now I had to remove my calendar from my portfolio because this was kind of increasingly happening. So I've done two things. First, I moved all my calendar events to early morning. So if you want to talk with me, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, that's fine. I mean, I'm a morning person, so I'll be happy to chat out with you. The second one, I had to remove it because people were not coming on time. It was a 15-minute meet. If you join 5 or 10 minutes late, the meeting end late, and maybe it clashes with some other meetings. So your questions are not answered properly, and it's kind of disappointing. So don't do that when you are reaching out to someone else. Respect the time they have spent. You don't have to thank them. It's fine if you thank them, but just be on time. As simple as that. Now, when you're reaching out to someone, this is one of the most annoying DMs that I get. This is the worst way to reach out to someone professionally and expect a reply. That is a message with no context. Now, obviously, I've hidden their name, but you can see their hack club lead and thing. So it basically means even the best of the people who have great achievements, it does not mean that everybody needs to learn a bit of professional ethics or the best practices to reach out in the best way. So let me show you another example of this one. Now check this out. Check this one out. So it starts with hi. Then I say hi 30 minutes later. And then they reply, bro, I'm not your bro. They need help. And they're like, are you free tomorrow? I'm going to talk. Now, this simple conversation took 30 minutes. Instead, if that person had directly answered, hi, I need your help. When are you available next? Can we talk? The moment I see that message and I could maybe see in my calendar, if I'm free, I could reply that and done. That would save so much time of mine and theirs, right? So I get a lot of DMs which just starts with hi and just stay there. So it's very difficult for me to again say hi, then say like, how are you? Then I will say, how are you? Then the conversation start. That is fine, but that is really, wasting both of our time. Don't do that. Especially when it's okay. I mean, we have been taught like, this is a bit different from a natural conversation. In a natural conversation, you will say, hi, how are you? And then they will say, and things like that. But this is asynchronous. You can be short and succinct. It is not inoffensive. Usually a lot of students think that, if I directly come to the point, it might sound offensive, it might sound rude, but it's not. So if you just say hi and put everything in a single message, it's absolutely fine. Let me show you an example. So this is another message that I got. Okay, they introduce themselves and this they're looking for something. Then they send quite some message. This is great. I saw all the messages at once, so I could see what they want. All right. But still, it's like spread into 4 different messages. It's fine, but I think you can send it in a single message. I mean, when I have my notifications on and someone messages me like hi, and then the next message, how are you? That really annoys me. So I have to keep my phone on silent all the time. Let me show you another great example of how I got reached for my first podcast. So this message is beautiful. They start, let's just take a look of how they start. So they start with introducing themselves and first of all, what brought them to me. So they read my blog, they talk about themselves, where they are from. This is the work that they have done. They have done some podcasts on Spotify. This is what they want, this section. And then they come to the agenda that would they like to, do a podcast with me. And then they come like, what's the next step? Can we book a 30-minute window when you're available? Thanking you. Single message, straightforward, on point, introduce themselves, introduce they express what they want. Perfect. I can directly look at the message. I can accept that. I can reply, okay, I'm available next at this point. Done. Saves so much of their and mind time. So this is one of the great examples of how you can frame when you're trying to reach out to someone. Takes a little bit of thought process, but it's absolutely worth it. Will increase your chances of getting a reply by a lot. All right. Next is kind of a small thing, but that's a personal preference. Like I prefer like punctuations, but you don't have to. But also keep the English a bit formal, like a bit correct. Use Grammarly. I use Grammarly all the time. It's fine. You don't have to read books of English or have a proper degree or a subject to have proper formatted English, but just have a tool which can check for you for any mistakes. All right. Here's one example from our own applications. There are quite a couple of things wrong here, which I would straightly just say no to this one. These are the points. Like you can see, they have used short forms. This is an application, all right. Like never try to do short forms. I mean, it's fine in WhatsApp chats with your friends, but don't do that when you're talking to someone else or writing in your application. That's a very, very big red flag that you are not interested in this application or in this program or in this chat, that you're trying to put a shortcut. You're just not spending enough time. So that's what it indirectly shows when you're using short forms. Or well, it's good to have punctuation, full stops here and commas after and things like that. That's definitely a plus. Someone else who is doing that will get a head start above you. So they'll get a high priority. So keep that in mind. These are the things you can do, even if you're a student or not. But as long as you're a student, you will have the problem of managing time. All right. So let me show you some things, some tips that I use for managing time. I personally practice time blocking. So time blocking is basically just go to your calendar or anything that you like. You block a time. Let me show you. If I can, yeah, I can show you. So this is one example that a time blocking looks like. So it's like, okay, from this to this, I'm doing A, and then I have assignment, and then I go to gym. But this is not realistic time. It is not physically possible for me to do a talk, immediately go to gym, immediately come back and do an assignment and so forth. It's kind of unrealistic. So try to keep your time, whatever you're managing, pretty real. Okay, keep things real. Know that there's a buffer time, between the tasks that you do. So if I were to now change my schedule, it will look something like this. So I have some buffer time between my talk and my assignment, and then I can immediately go for gym because I know myself. Now, in between the break here, what will you do also matters. So if Codebar talk is virtual and the assignment is also virtual, if I'm spending the time here on mobile, it's going to burn me out. It's not going to refresh me. It's going to drain me out. So make sure you spend some time off, depending on the task that you are. Make sure it is not, this is a rest period, a buffer period for your next task. And if you want to go and check your phone, or you want to check your tweets or what happened in Instagram, have a separate time for that. A lot of people just randomly check during, before sleeping or randomly throughout the day. I would say have a proper special time. I usually follow that. So this is how it looks like finally, that from 8 to 8:30, I will do nothing else, but I'll check my emails or my Twitter or my Instagram feed and nothing else. I'll just spend my time on socials. So apart from that, there are two more tricks that you can use. It's called Pomodoro and the Eisenhower Matrix. So Pomodoro is basically, a lot of and for those who don't, you do activity in the form of a 25 minutes short burst. Don't do that for coding. For coding, make it a bit longer, like 45 minutes. But Pomodoro is pretty effective if you want to segment a big task and do it in short spans. But what happens if you want to do two tasks at once? Let's say you have an important assignment, but you want to sleep. Depending on which one is important. If the assignment deadline is tomorrow, you will do that. If not, you won't. So this happens quite a lot. For example, after this HackOut, should I watch a movie or should I complete that blog? Both have equal priorities. I don't know which one. So I use something called an Eisenhower Matrix. I personally love this trick. This is amazing. So it's basically helps you decide which one you should do right now, which is important and urgent, which you will naturally know. If it's important and urgent, you will know it. You will do it anyway. And if it's not important and not urgent, I mean, it's a waste of time, or maybe you can just skip it for something else. But these two segments, these are the highlights, because you cannot decide which one to decide and delegate. Decide means schedule. So Eisenhower Matrix helps you clear these two segments, which is kind of tricky for most of the people, because they can't tell whether they should do a not so urgent and important task or not so important but urgent task. So these two columns are which I really like having solved. It's like Johari window. Yes, but Johari window, I'm not sure is like, if I'm correct, Johari window is kind of like used in entrepreneurship, but yeah, it's a matrix. So it's kind of like that. Yeah, the pattern is same. It's a 2x2 matrix for sure. With that said, these are some tricks you can use. But last but not the least, the best trick to learn literally anything is how can you learn to self-pace. If you learn how to learn on your own, basically, if you learn how to learn, you can learn anything in tech, anything. These are some personal tips which I have learned, and let me tell you, I'm not expert in any particular domain in tech, but I am extremely confident in all of them because I know how to ask. This is so important. All the time I encourage asking, but how do you ask is really important. This really makes the difference on how fast you learn and how effortless it is for you to answer any question and move on to the next one. Let me show. So when you're asking, first make sure that just do a bit of background research. A simple Google search works. So if you think you cannot find a question answers in Google, in Stack Overflow, in the documentation, then maybe it's the good time to ask. Let me give you an example. Some person asked me this. So they asked like content script, can you put things like that? And now I don't have, when I saw this was yesterday. And when I saw this, I did not have an immediate answer. And the first thing that I would do is go ahead and do a Google search if I don't know the answer. And I did. And the first thing that I saw was a Stack Overflow with the exact same answer that that person wanted. So maybe if that person had just Googled it, they don't even have to reach out to me, wait for my reply, and then get their questions answered. Chances are, if you're asking someone, they might also Google search for you. So first go ahead and ask and do a bit of research. It only takes 5 to 10 minutes. And once you cannot find it anywhere or something that you don't understand, it's a good idea to ask. Now, when you're asking someone, the first priority is asking public. This is so important because you ask something about JavaScript, 5 minutes later, someone else asked the same thing in my DMs. So that's 2 DMs after I have to answer the same answer. If you ask it in a public server, in a public channel, someone else who was about to ask might just see, oh, wait, this is the same question I wanted to see. It has been answered. Done. So others learn from the conversation when you ask in public. Now, unless if that question can be asked public, if it's something that you feel can be asked, should be asked in a DM, definitely, but keep a priority for public questions when whether it is technical or non-technical. Don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed. This is very important. Don't be ashamed of asking in public, all right? Because someone else also get the chance to answer those questions. So they will research for you. They will try and test things for you. So they are learning in that process. So you're giving them opportunities to become a mentor at once. And then the same thing repeats when you have the answer and someone else asks that in future. So always ask in public whenever possible. Once you have the answer, you know what, share what you learned. This is the first step to become a mentor, a leader, and also to solidify what you learned. Science proven that you retain things much more that you things that you taught than things you basically just practiced a lot. It makes you pretty good at a particular subject. Now, a lot of students have this misconception that, okay, wait, oh no, I need to do something big to start sharing my knowledge. I need to have a certificate, or I need to have a degree or anything like that. Don't wait for an opportunity, or don't wait for a achievement to start sharing your experience. Especially don't wait for 10 years of experience. I've seen that a lot in events. They would say like 10 years of experience, which is great, but you don't have to wait for that long. Whenever you learned Git and GitHub today, you learned how to create your first pull request. You just learned one thing, how to create a pull request. If you just share that in a blog or a tweet or just as a message, it will help someone who does not know how to create a pull request. It will help them, okay, wait, this is how I do. Oh, thanks. Thank you so much. So even if it is an hour of learning or a day of learning, it will help someone who is about to begin. So definitely share what you learned in the public. All right. Once you have shared a work in the public, you can do it in the form of blogs. If you don't prefer like recording a video, I prefer anything. So I've tried blogs, I've tried videos. Don't worry about numbers. Really, seriously, this is a big misconception that numbers means quality. Some of the best live streams that I attend have single digit or double digit numbers. Some of the best courses that I have seen, videos that I've seen have minimal number of people, because That's when the real thing happens, a lot of people just leave. So really don't worry if nobody is reading your blog or nobody is watching. Someone will watch, a very small audience will watch and they'll appreciate that. Plus, anyway, you get to share what you're learning. So you're already solidifying what you learned. With that said, we are at the end of a hackout. We still have 5 minutes to go. I will take any questions that you have. And in the meantime, very important, I want you to do this. I'm going to drop feedback in the chat, a feedback form. This is extremely important for us to know, for us to improve the hackouts. So go ahead, fill this feedback form. We have 5 minutes before we end. And if you have any questions, type them in the chat or unmute yourself or ask anything that you want to know about professional mindset or the best practices to follow. Anything you can feel free to ask that. All right. Go ahead and fill out the feedback form. Inclusive language. Thanks for reminding me that. I did not try to cover it because okay, we still have a little bit of time. So inclusive language. Let me go ahead and do I have any example of inclusive language? So inclusive language means, again, it comes to do not assume section of networking 101. Do not assume anyone's gender. What that means is don't call them bro in the first place, or sis or sir or anything. Don't even try to call it he or him unless they have their pronouns mentioned. Chances are they may or may not be comfortable for, you know, whatever you're pronouncing. And if you're unsure about their pronouns, should I call them he or she or they, don't assume, just call them by name. If I don't know the pronouns of Ashish here, should I call him he? I'll just call it Ashish. Just mention it Ashish. It's fine. Or ask them. It's totally fine to ask their pronouns if you are unsure about that. So that's one thing of inclusive language. Other things include like not using non-inclusive words, again, bro, sir, any offensive languages. It's when you're talking in a public server where people around the globe are there, any foul language, it's not inclusive. Inclusivity basically means, are you making sure that no one is getting uncomfortable because of you? Are you making sure everyone is comfortable in this space? They're not feeling left out. They're not feeling like separate. It also includes seniority. If someone is senior and you're a junior, that is not inclusive. You are feeling left out. You are feeling separate from the group. So are you making sure you don't make the other people feel any kind of exclusivity? That's what the opposite of exclusivity. So when you're reaching out to someone in publicly or in a personal, don't assume anything about them. Make sure that includes the pronouns, and make sure that you're not indirectly making them uncomfortable. Now your intention may be good. Your intention was like, okay, I was never meant to harm you, but you don't know that the damage is already done. So that's a bit about inclusivity. Anything else? We still have a minute more. Make sure you have filled the form. Let me put it again if you haven't. Let me just check if is it working or not. Oh yeah, it's working. It should take a minute or two for you to fill this. Apart from that, if you have any questions, feel free to ask right away. Absolutely fine. All right, I don't see any questions around. If we don't have any more questions, we can wrap this up. If you have, uh, maybe raise your hand or something like that. And if you don't have any questions, you can turn on your video and we'll take a quick selfie for the Slack. Okay, we have one more question right in the room. That is important aspect to create an inclusive group. It can be a bit hard to read the room at times. So usually the space is mentioned, like when you join a community or you join a public group, they specifically mention that we have underrepresented people here, or we follow this code of conduct. Definitely read that. That will actually give you the idea of how the room is and how you can make sure you're doing fine when you're asking, when you're engaging in the chat. Cool. One final tip when you are in your interviews or anything professional meetings, don't keep your videos off. This is, yeah, I'm telling that right now. I mean, it's fine, you're busy right now, but don't do that in an interview. Do not give, it's very unprofessional. It's straight up like that. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining. Amazing. If you have any questions and if you're watching this recording, yeah, you can feel free to reach out to us.